Greetings, Lavinia, Jake, Tracy, Nancy, Todd. Oh, here comes Zoe. Yeah, there she is. All right. Um, Good to see you all. Pretty warm here. Uh, Beautiful though. So we're going to do something tonight that we haven't done in quite a while, but I think is a really beneficial practice, and I'd just like to at least give you a sampling of it, and then you can take it from there, as always, and decide how this fits in with uh, with what you do. Um, so first, I'm going to introduce the Qigong donkey. This is the Qigong donkey. Okay, see, uh, and the Qigong donkey uh, is really stiff. You can see, and now it's very relaxed. Okay, so stiff, relaxed. Okay, right. So this is sort of military attention, and then this is lazy boy with the beer and the Packers, right? So nothing wrong with either one, but what we're looking for is being relaxed and alert at the same time. So just on the brink of collapse, but upright. Okay, so that's the Qigong doggy, and this is what we're going to be practicing. So we're going to be doing, we'll do our warm-ups and loosening up and so on, and we're going to focus on standing Qigong practice. And we do this all the time, except that we're moving. And this time we're not going to be moving much. Okay, so what I'm advising you to do is do this in a way that challenges you to a point, but not to where it's hurts or it's harmful or you really don't want to do it, because this is really the first time for most people. I mean, we've sampled it a little bit, but we haven't really done it as a practice. And you can modify the practice by doing a number of things. You can sit instead of stand. That's perfectly fine. And you can do that in the middle of anything. Nobody's looking at you, so just do what you need to do. Um, and you can lower your arms, whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. But sort of find that little tightrope, that little razor thin thing where you're challenging yourself a little, but not too much. Okay. So one of my cliches is we do Qigong because it makes us feel good. And it's still true. It's just that it may take a little while. Okay, but trust me on this, all right? And so I'm just going to trust you to moderate the practice for your needs, right? We don't want anybody overdoing anything. Um, the reason for standing, I just want to just give you a little bit of rationale, like why are we doing this? Um, Obviously, it's good for posture. It's very good for balance. It's good for strength. It makes this an aerobic practice. Our heart rate's going to go up. Our breathing rate is going to go up. So it's very good in that way. Um, but also, we're learning little by little to not only be comfortable in the midst of a little discomfort, but to actually enjoy it, right? Because we know that life is full of discomfort at best, right? At best. So we want to integrate that into our practice so that our practice isn't sort of way over here and our day-to-day life is over here and the two don't meet. We're going to watch our own minds. Our minds are going to be saying things like, oh, this is uncomfortable. Oh, I don't like this. Oh, I want to stop. The mind's going to start doing that. And our answer is just going to be to smile to it. Okay, until at some point we agree with it. So that's fine. And I'm going to be challenging myself here too, so so that's going to be our practice tonight. So we'll talk about it afterwards, because you need to see what actually happens. The mind stops thinking, and we just kind of become this stillness in this body. It's quite extraordinary, and it doesn't even take very long. Uh, so that's what we're about tonight. Any questions about that? I mean, many of you have done a little bit of this with me. No, that's clear. Okay, great, very good. Well, let's get started. Actually, oops, I'll be right back. I forgot my water. Okay, sorry about that. This is the warm-up that my teacher, Tricia Yu, started her class with every single time for 30 years. So this is sort of why I fall into it. But you don't have to always start with this. And not only that, you can kind of morph it into, you can sort of play around with it, and, like you can do other things with your hands if you want to. The shifting the weight and turning is very useful, very good for the body. But what you're doing with the arms is really up to you. And you can go into cloud. Hands, the lower body is the same. This can be done minimally, or it can be done in a bigger way. And then be sure to include the sides and the back. So just put your attention, on your back. Sometimes when you're doing this, it'll cause you to straighten up a little more usually. Because if we're always focusing on the front, we tend to lean forwards. But if you sort of spread your attention around, then the body tends to straighten up a little more. So, you want to start your warm-up at what you're comfortable with, but don't let it become just sort of empty. If you're being a little creative with it, it'll keep your attention. What we don't want is some, rote movement where the mind is just running. We want to keep the mind in the body. Okay. Very good. Okay, and we need to really feel at home in our body and our posture, and so the body will just sort of fall into this natural upright posture, once we get used to it, and you'll just feel it align. You may have to pull the chin in on purpose a little bit. So this brings our attention up from the body moving now to the inside to this vertical upright quality, and dropping down into the earth, coming up through the body, through the torso, and extending up into the sky. And then just feeling the body aligned, with that line just going right through the middle. And it's curious, but once you do that, you can kind of relax a little more, because this uprightness is there. You can sort of relax and still be in it. Okay, very good. Well, let's bow to the directions. Starting with the east. South. To the west. To the north. And back to the first position. Standing up. And down. And then just noticing the whole torso expanding and relaxing with the breath. So the front, but also the back and sides. We need to intentionally put our attention to the back, because it normally isn't there. And then that'll balance the posture. And then you can even feel when you put your hands down, it's different. Let's just notice the bottoms of the feet here as it is in this standing mountain pose. Just if you just lift both your arms, feel what happens to the bottoms of the feet. So the weight tends to shift forward, doesn't it, onto the balls and toes. And so, in order to lift our arms, we have to intentionally sort of sit back a little bit. We could, kind of bend the knees a little bit, bend the waist just a touch, or the hips, so that the bottoms of the feet feel the same as they do when our arms are down. Okay, and so then dropping the arms. See, now we're kind of tipping forward, right? So we have to balance that. Okay. Can you feel that? Let's try that once more. So just go ahead and raise your arms and feel the weight shift on the feet, and then correct it, adjust it. Okay, very good. and then letting the arms down again, and then adjust. You have to adjust again. So that's going to be critical. All right, and so loosening up the head and neck. You may hear little sounds when you do this. Everybody does. It's kind of these little kind of clicking sounds and so on. I don't think other people hear it, but I think we hear it. And that's good. Okay, and then moving down to the shoulders. You may want to do this when you get up in the morning. If you've slept, you kind of sleep wrong sometimes. You wake up and there's this pain in the middle, high up in your back between your shoulder blades. This really does help. And if you're driving in a car for long distances, I don't know if anybody does that anymore, but this is really good for that. In fact, someone once told me that their neck would get so stiff and neck and shoulders, they couldn't turn around and look out to see if they're backing up or something, or to see if there was something out there. So staying loose can save your life, right? All right, and so expanding the breath. So we're pointing to the middle of the chest, and then we're standing up when the arms are open, and then sinking down when the arms are closed. And you can lift the head too when we're closed, we're looking down. And when we're open, we're looking up. And if you like, you can flex your back a little, sort of bend back a little bit, and sort of stick your belly up if you want to. I mean, you can do all these movements kind of exaggeratedly or subtly. And you may have body memory of opening the 7 gates, and that's good. So with this movement, we're opening all the gates. My Qigong teacher, Gabrielle, says this is called wake up, go to sleep. So when you're folded in, you're asleep. When you're opened out, you're awake. Okay, very good. All right, and rocking the pelvis. So you can maybe feel this in the lower back. And you don't want this to hurt. If there's a teeny bit of pain, it's okay, because you're just stretching it out. But just want to keep it flexible. Okay. Good. And then circling the hips. So looked at from above, you're making a circle. And you have to use your legs to do this. And as I said before, if you just do this once a week, just at this class, for just a couple of minutes, it will keep your lower back pretty flexible. If you do it a little more often, that's better. But the main thing is to use these joints, to move them. Don't let them get stiff. In my 30s, I had terrible back problems, lower back problems, before I started practicing Tai Chi. Um, and this practice and others really, just for me, it was my experience, really cleared that up, actually for the rest of my life so far. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and do the balancing. So again, notice the bottoms of the feet. You have to adjust for this. Okay. And then when you're ready, you just bend the one knee, sink down, let the other foot come up. You can only, if you only lift the heel, that's fine. You can leave your big toe down on the ground. That's fine. Or you can lift. Okay, and that's the practice. And if you want to do other stuff, that's fine. But the main thing is that this is a one-legged stance. However, whatever else you do. Now, sometimes we don't even realize this, but when we're walking, we're on one leg, only one leg, and then the other leg. So we do this every time we walk. When we're walking, both feet aren't on the ground for very long. We have to lift one off. So we are on one foot hundreds of times a day. So we know how to do it. Now, if you practice martial arts, you really do need to be able to stand on one foot in order to do a kick. Okay, good. All right, very good, very good. Okay, now let's just do a little bit of trembling mountain here at your own pace. And remember to be aware of your back. Okay, very good. So if you think you might need it, then have your stool or chair, have it within reach, nearby. And I was going to say don't hesitate to use it, but I am going to say hesitate to use it. Use it if you need to, but not the first time you want to. Okay? So the first standing posture is just standing. My teacher, Ken Cohen, just calls this standing position number one. Not too creative, but that's what it's called. And there's a little bit of a bend in the elbow. The palms are not exactly facing each other, but mostly. As if we're holding some big sort of oval disc. Uh, okay, so that's standing position number one. And just so you know, so dipping the knees, and this is standing number two. So this is embracing the tree or embracing the moon. So your hands are like making a crescent moon, sort of like that. And then this whole thing here, this is like the full moon, or the tree, embracing the tree. And we want the hands opposite the heart, and the elbows are down. Okay, we're not trying to, elbows are down. Okay, so that's number two, embracing the tree. So next one up. So number three, the hands are going to turn, and we're looking up between the hands. This, and the opening is opposite the forehead. This is called window to the moon. And you can imagine, if you like, the full moon with the light coming into the forehead. Okay, so that's number three. Now the fourth one, the hands come up this way, and the palms are facing kind of up, and this is window to the stars. So the opening is above the crown of the head. Okay, everybody got that? Okay, good. And then the last one, the fifth one, come down. And this is like standing one, only the hands are straight with the arms. Okay? Okay, very good. So those are the postures. So let's begin with standing one. Normally this is taught without any verbalization, but I'm going to help you with this a little bit with these. So first, be aware of the pressure on the feet. You want that even. You may want to adjust the width of your feet. Okay? And then this is kind of a soft pose. Okay? And tuck the chin just a little. Bring your mind around the back so your body's straight. Now your eyes can be closed or cast down. And typically, in order to time these postures, we count the breaths. You can set a little bell or something on your phone if you want to, or you can just count the breaths. So there may be about 12 breaths a minute, give or take. Now, with the teaching of the Qigong donkey, these positions are not static. So it's fine to make little adjustments as you're standing. You may have to rebalance the weight. You may have to tuck the chin a little bit. Go ahead and make any little adjustments you need to. It's fine. It can be helpful to remember or imagine that vertical line of light. And it's fine to put the attention anywhere down in the earth, anywhere in the body, above the head. That's all part of the practice. You can also do Qigong while you're doing this. So you may be using the eyes, bringing the attention up the spine, top of the head, down the front of the body with the breath. That's a fine practice to do. Another thing that you can do is to breathe in and out through parts of the body. You can breathe in for instance, through the bottoms of the feet. Breathe out the top of the head, or the other way around. You can breathe in and out of the heart, front and back. But we want to do something with the mind and the body, and not just have the body standing here and the mind running. Okay? Okay. Very good. Okay, so after a few breaths, we're going to go into the next posture. And before we move, we're going to start by bending, then sitting down just a little. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. So sink. As you come up, the hands come up. Okay, very good. And just notice, form that little crescent moon. All the fingers are pointing at each other. The thumbs are pointing at each other. Okay, and if you like, you can imagine that your elbows are resting on a counter. They're supported. You may feel sensations in your hands. These postures do generate heat. And, you're looking down, or your eyes are closed, and you can imagine or sense this kind of connection between the palms, running through the arms, through the heart. This sort of circular connection. Check that your weight is even on your feet, that you're not tipped forward. And you can balance that. You bend the knees just a touch and just act like you're going to sit down a little bit so that you're balanced. And at some point, you'll begin to feel discomfort in probably your shoulders. And that's to be expected, and that's fine. Say, okay, a little bit of discomfort here. Just continue breathing. Continue any of the practices that we've discussed. If you like, you can breathe in and out of any area that's uncomfortable. And then that will help to relax that area. And we want to, with the in-breath, we're upright or alert. In-breath, alert. Out-breath, relax. Chin is tucked or aware behind us. And it's okay to smile just a little bit or a lot. You can practice breathing the stars too, breathing in through the pores of the skin in all directions, and breathing out in all directions. Relax on the out breath and be upright with the in breath. It's okay to move a tiny bit to make adjustments. Okay, let's take 3 more breaths. And sink the knees and come up, and roll the palms forward, and we're looking between the hands, or you can, if your eyes are closed or cast down, that's fine. I mean, imagining the full moon, the light entering the palms, coming in the arms, into the heart, into the body, and coming through into the forehead, into the brain, and filling the body with this moonlight. Okay, and when there's a little stiffness in the shoulders, just notice the mind. What is the mind thinking about that? Just feel it and then breathe through it, or do any of the other practices. You can move your attention to somewhere that's comfortable, like the belly, the chest, anywhere else besides focusing on the area that's slightly uncomfortable. This is wonderful to do outdoors at night. Oh, a little discomfort, that's okay. Still practicing. My arms are not going to fall off, for sure. If this is too easy, then bend your knees a little bit and sink down as if you're sitting on a stool. And then your thighs will come into play. That's optional. And smile a little, practicing with discomfort. It actually intensifies the practice. Okay, very good. Couple more breaths. Okay, and then dipping the knees. And now the hands are going to be facing up, above. You can touch them under your head if you want to, just to find where they go. And then the opening is above the crown of the head. So this is window to the stars. So the starlight is streaming down into the palms, filling the body. It's coming down between the hands into the top of the head. It's lighting up anywhere that's a little bit stiff. And then do some of these mind-body practices with the breath. It's okay to smile a little bit. Okay, let's do 3 more breaths. And then dip the knees. Okay, and the arms go out to the sides. And then the 5th position, the palms are facing down. Relax the body with the out breath. All right, let's take 3 more breaths. Okay, now go ahead and bring up your stool or chair. And then just drop into your sitting meditation posture. And continue any of the mind-body breath practices that you were doing during the standing. might need to check your posture, bring the attention around back, drop the chin a little. If you'd like, you can move the body a little, make circles with the upper body, just gently, slowly, just to sort of loosen it up a little. And you can involve the head, tucking the chin and extending the chin. Involve the shoulders if you want. Just letting the body be supple again. And then just relax into stillness and see if the mind and body can be still. Okay, very good. Let's just sort of slowly move a little bit and begin to come fully back. Not that we've gone anywhere. Okay, very good. So on three, let's clap our hands one time together. 1, 2, 3. And keep. All right, sort of brush down the body and bringing attention to the back. It makes loose fists. Tap the kidneys and massage the kidneys. Okay, thank you for your practice. And just a few words at the end. So if you'd like to try this, um, you can use, of course, a timer or a clock, whatever you want to do. And what we did was about 10 minutes. So that was 2 minutes roughly per station. Um, you can do that and then move into sitting practice. And I think you got a sense of what impact that has on your sitting practice. It just tends to make us more still because we've kind of tired the body out a little bit. And that's another way of saying we've relaxed the body. Right? And you can move it to 3 minutes if you count the breaths, or you can use a timer. 4 minutes, 5 minutes. If you do 5 minutes, and then go into a sitting practice, you really have a complete. That's really a very powerful combination. So feel free to play around with it, try it out, see how it is, and notice how the mind begins to say, oh, "Okay, I don't like this. I don't want to do this." Just notice that. It's just the mind, just thinking, and then you get past that, and there are very distinct stages of the practice, but eventually it just very deeply relaxes the mind and the body, combines them. Ken Cohen would talk about holding these postures for half an hour each. And the only reason I say that is because after a while it actually becomes very enjoyable. If you can believe that, it really does. I haven't done it that long, but it is a practice I recommend. So if you would like to slip off the Zoom, thank you for practicing. Good to see you. And if you'd like to stay for questions and comments, then we can do that. Okay. Lavinia, are you taking off?
No, I wanted just to make a comment. I'm ever grateful, but it was noticeable how still my mind was once we ended, and I don't think I've ever reached sort of a bare attention, control of my mind so quickly after settling down.
Oh.
And to hold it and sustain it for a while, it's interesting. Just my body is heating up too. It's amazing how it gets kind of warm. It's amazing how quickly the effects it has. It's my mind was like, boom, it's all yours, nothing there.
I'm so glad.
I won't disturb you. It's quite noticeable. I just thought I'd share that.
Oh, I'm so glad you did, because that's the practice. I mean that's why this is really a deep element of Qigong, is these stillness practices, because it's hard to explain it or why it happens, but it's very profound. It just kind of unifies the mind and body, and everything just calms down. And at the same time, we generate a tremendous amount of energy. And we can feel that in the form of heat, definitely. But there's other ways we feel it too, particularly if we're guiding it with our mind.
Yes. During the practice, I'm not sure what it's called. Do I sent energy up the back and down the front?
Mhm.
I wanted to practice that, so I would use that as a technique for my breath to follow.
Yeah.
It was just so striking to sit and then see what's up with my mind, and it's just be so
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's
available
so,
to me.
yeah. So yeah, exactly. Available to you, and not in control, but available to you. That's exactly it. Yeah. I'm very glad you had that experience. And, this is all you. And you can, you can extend this, you know, deepen it if you want to, use it when you need to. But sometimes it's just hard to just sit down and meditate. We just don't feel like it. Um, and uh, and that's fine. That's normal. It's just, so let's do some qigong.
Yes.
Maybe we'll start with moving, and then we end up with a stillness practice,
Yeah.
and then that just goes right into the sitting.
Yeah. Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you
There
for
were,
that. Yeah. Anybody else?
there were times when I thought my feet and my hands were going to burst into flame.
Oh my. Oh wow. That's great. That's
My
really.
feet would get heat isn't exactly the right term, but they felt very heavy and dense.
Mm,
And it would I would pay some attention to it, and maybe I might, shift my rock on my sides of my feet just for a little bit or something, and it
mm-hmm,
would dispel it a little bit.
mm-hmm.
That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's your chi, and you can do that, or you can move it. You can you've got that concentrated in the bottom of your feet, and with your mind and your breath, move it up the body. Move it through that central channel, move it up to the lower dantian, middle dantian, move it up to the brain, move it out into the stars, and keep moving it, because that sensing it, that's the first thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, here it is. Now, what am I going to do with this? You know, and then of course you could shift your body, and there's no right or wrong, but you can
I
play
think
with
I,
that.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think I kind of did that unconsciously because I would tend to really focus on my breathing when I had those strong sensations
right.
and just kind of picture the whole body inside what I think of as kind of the cosmic donut or
Oh,
torus is
the
again.
cosmic donut. That's
So I think that kind of had the effect of
yeah,
spreading it out.
sure, because the breath does that. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's great, Todd. I mean that's really it. And the
And
breath the breath will get really deep. The longer you hold the posture, the breath will deepen. It's just a way of dealing with discomfort.
and these hand postures were a little different than what you have shown us in the past.
Were they?
I think. Yeah, I don't remember the hands facing up over the top of the head before.
Yeah,
Might have just stopped
yeah. Well,
with
maybe
the
I didn't do that one. I
yeah.
mean, it's getting more difficult when you're up there. Each one gets a little harder, right? Maybe I just didn't do it. But yeah, it's foreheads right here, and then crown. So yeah, yeah. Well, good. Um, I, I got into a routine for several months where I was doing 30 minutes of this and then 30 minutes of sitting, and it was just really great. I mean, some people just find practices and just stay with them like their whole life, you know, and that's great. It's amazing. I tend to be a little more restless, and so I'll do this thing for a while, and get really into it, and then I'll go on to something else, and I'll come back to that. That's just me. I'm not recommending or putting anything down. Just see how it works. But it is a revelation just how these incredibly simple practices, just how powerful they are. Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of apprehensive initially, because I didn't quite my shoulder was a little stiff for starters,
Mm-hmm.
and what was interesting, I somehow, after the first two, the time seemed to be not as long as the first ones were, and I know they were all the same length pretty much.
Pretty
The
much.
time. But what I noticed particularly with the ones with the hands above my head is my arms felt really warm and really heavy. I mean, it was almost as if they had increased in size and were heavier. It wasn't an uncomfortable heavy. It was just a very odd sensation because I was sort of trying to concentrate initially, maybe a little too much, just to relax myself. And with this, and then when we went to the last position, it was a real it was a real relief.
Huge relief. Yeah.
But yeah, how many minutes altogether did we do with each of the
It was about 2 minutes,
2 minutes?
approximately 2 minutes per
Okay, so
position.
that was
Yeah.
about 15 minutes for the entire.
It was about 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
But
very
keep in mind, though, we did do some movement before we did that.
yeah, yeah.
And that might be something, rather than just going right into it. I mean, you can if you feel like it, but
Mm-hmm.
moving a little bit, then you go into
Yeah,
that.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And I feel that, generally in terms of focusing my breath, the easiest for me is to just feel my abdomen go in and out, just feel the breath go, because I have a hard time visualize breathing through all my pores and the
Mhm.
back. It just but this I think this will be very very useful for me, to actually get rid of stiffness. I thought initially it was going to get worse.
Yeah. Good. Well, yeah. Let me know how that goes for you.